Shalom, everyone. So today I want to see if I can shed some light on Jewish world domination. See, one of the major accusations against Jewish people worldwide is that we want to control things from politics to the media to Hollywood to the banking system. Now, we've been accused of wanting to take over the world for centuries. But the one piece that put Jewish world domination on the map more than anything is probably the early 1900s Russian hoax, plagiarized from the previous work of French author Maurice Joly, the dialogue, and I quote, the dialogue in hell between Machiavelli and Montesquieu. It was officially debunked in the early 1920s, but it is still in circulation today in many languages and is known as the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. Now, Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel described the protocols as follows, and I quote, "If ever a piece of writing could produce mass hatred, it is this one. This book is about lies and slander." Close quote. By the way, friends, if you learn from my videos, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So let's get back to the topic here. Attributed to a cabal of Jewish leaders, the agenda of the protocols calls for a global Jewish takeover. Let me quote here. "By all these means, we shall so wear down the Goyim that they will be compelled to offer us international power of a nature that by its position will enable us without any violence gradually to absorb all the state forces of the world and to form a super government. In place of the rulers of today, we shall set up a bogey which will be called the super government administration. Its hands will reach out in all directions like snipers, and its organization will be of such colossal dimensions that it cannot fail to subdue all the nations of the world." That's from protocol number 5. Friends, frankly, I find it eerily reminiscent of the biblical promise of a new world order. We can read about this in Revelation 13 and 17. All one would have to do would be to switch the main protagonist, and it would fit the times that we live in. It's very, very interesting. The protocols also claim to control the press. And I quote, "We must compel the governments of the Goyim to take action in the direction favored by our widely conceived plan, already approaching the desired consummation by what we shall represent as public opinion, secretly prompted by us through the means of the so-called great power, the press, which, with a few exceptions that may be disregarded, is already entirely in our hands." And that's from Protocol chapter 7. So, the accusation of Jewish world domination precedes the publication of the protocols, as Jews were accused of creating and spreading the 14th century Black Plague to destroy Christian Europe and take over the continent. So this is not a new thing. The pamphlet, the protocols, lays out a precise plan for takeover, but keeps all the players, including the author, anonymous. Not one name is mentioned, not the name of the leaders or the victims or even the co-perpetrators. This might very well be a factor in the survival of such a piece of trash if you ask me, for so long when all other propaganda have come and gone. The protocols can be applied to Jewish people through time without risking becoming obsolete, in the mind of anti-Semites, that is. Additionally, some have applied the plot of the protocols to modern days, claiming erroneously that the Jews were behind the latest pandemic. They also paint a picture of Jewish greed and Jewish banking control. Another very, very old trope against the Jews. True, there are a lot of Jewish people in the financial world, and many of them are or have been extremely successful and as a result have amassed large fortunes. This is based on what is known as shrewdness. Jewish people, generally speaking, are very shrewd. They're good at business transactions, which helps them make good profits. Incidentally, this is not exclusive to Jewish people. There are plenty of successful Gentiles in the world, but shrewdness might be more prevalent among Jewish people, for which they really should not have to apologize. And by the way, when Gentiles are shrewd and successful, nobody points the finger. Jewish philanthropy is one of the highest in the world. Jewish people can actually be very, very generous with their money. This is actually based on two principles, two traditions: tzedakah, which means charitable giving, and Tikkun Olam, which means repairing the world. This concept of Tikkun Olam really warrants our attention if we want to better understand the predominance of Jewish people in the most influential segments of society. Because at the end of the day, influential Jewish people are not trying to take over the world. That's ridiculous. But they are seeking the betterment of the planet, one innovation at a time. Consider this. Between 1901 and 2022, out of the 900 or so people who received the honor of the Nobel Prize, 211 were Jewish. That's about 23% of all Nobel Prizes ever given to people. Keep in mind that Jewish people make up only 0.02% of the world population. And no, the Jews do not control the Nobel Prize organization. So Tikkun, repairing, Olam, the world, is a Jewish concept that transcends various levels of religiosity on the wide spectrum of Jewish identity, assigning it to the Tanakh, God's law, the Talmud, the oral law, or even Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. Jewish people recognize that the world can use improvement. Tikkun Olam was even recognized by the late Lubavitcher Rebbe Menachem Schneerson as the duty of every human being, and not only the Jewish people. Additionally, religious Jews believe that every one of the 613 mitzvot, the commandments prescribed in the Torah, are representative of Tikkun Olam. Could we assert then that Tikkun Olam is within the fabric of every Jew, religious or not? Possibly. The desire to make this world a better world is commendable. One certainly doesn't have to be Jewish to seek and practice what we call Tikkun Olam. This being said, when we look at Jewish innovation over the centuries, and certainly over the last few decades, we must admit that many improvements came from Jewish people. We cannot deny that. It is a fact. The world is indeed a better place because of inventions and innovations. Inventions like drip irrigation, the laser, pacemakers, stainless steel, the polio vaccine, word processing computers, mobile phones, and Google, to name just a few. It is entirely possible that there exists a certain jealousy between some people and the Jewish people. Coupled with the longest hatred of antisemitism, Jewish inventions and innovations, instead of being praised and utilized, are seen as means to an end, that end being world domination. This is absolutely ludicrous. This makes no sense at all. To be sure, I do not adhere to all that is derived from Tikkun Olam, but the idea of contributing to our world to make it a better place for everybody is part of my personal modus operandi. I am Jewish, but the last thing on my mind is to take over the world. There is a promise of final Tikkun Olam coming in the future. As much as we strive to make this world a better place, the Bible tells us that God, only God, will send His Messiah to judge the world and restore it to what it was meant to be in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Only the Messiah will fulfill Tikkun Olam perfectly and for all eternity. Only Him will be able to do that. Our people, the Jewish people, patiently await Him. And in the meantime, we seek to contribute to our own version of Tikkun Olam. Now, the Messiah already paid us a visit to bring peace to the hearts of men, as we read in Isaiah 52:13 through 53:12. And He will return a second time to bring peace to the world and settle Tikkun Olam once and for all, the real, final Tikkun Olam. Only Mashiach can truly repair the world because He is the one who created it in the first place. In the meantime, let's not accuse us, the Jews, of seeking to take over the planet. We are not looking for a takeover, but we might be guilty of looking for a makeover. Be blessed. Until next time, and shalom.